your main objective is to get a feeling for different people's getting into catalysis
Yes.
and how their life developed.
Yes.
All right. Actually, my telling you about my involvement in catalysis ties in with somebody else that you interviewed earlier today, because my interest in catalysis was, to a large extent, influenced by Michel Boudard. All set? Yeah. A little bit of background. I come from South America. I was born in South America and grew up there. And so the first time I came to the U.S. was in '62. And so in the early '60s, my first exposure to this country, anything away from home, was Stanford. And there were two professors that I became quite close to during that period of time at Stanford. One was Michel Boudard and the other Andy Akragos. But Boudard quickly had quite an influence on me in terms of guiding some of my undergraduate work. And I spent more and more time with him, and so this was also right at the time when when Boudard had joined Stanford, '63. So I graduated in '66, and by then I was really a good friend of Michel's and also influenced by some of his thoughts of what are interesting areas to work in. My family is in the chemical business, and so I had a reason to be interested in chemical engineering to start with, which was one of the reasons I came to the U.S. to get a chemical engineer's degree. In trying to choose a field within that, the influence of a professor like Boudard was certainly important, and so pretty much by the time I finished my bachelor's degree, I was committed to move into the, let's say, the chemical engineering aspects that deal with surfaces, with reactions on surfaces, and catalytic phenomena, or at least related phenomena. It was thanks to Michel's guidance that I ended up going to Princeton, and I spent some time in Princeton with the idea of getting a PhD. Now I had to leave Princeton after my first year because my father passed away, so I went to run the family business in South America, which got me involved more and more into chemistry, but my ultimate aim was to get a PhD in chemical engineering. And so when I decided to come back, which was 2 years later, I asked Michel if I could come and join his group. So that set the course, definitely the course into catalysis. After getting my PhD, I again, influenced obviously by Michel's guidance, I went to Exxon and worked at the corporate research lab. But by then my interest in catalysis had been quite fixed. I had two reasons why it attracted me. One, because it had very interesting scientific aspects, but also its commercial implications were obvious. I mean, anybody knows it. And it was that commercial pull that attracted me all the time, and in fact it was strong enough that after a few years at Exxon, and after continuing to talk to some of my friends and colleagues, including Michel, the idea came up that we ought to try to start an enterprise on our own that was based on catalysis and the further development of new catalytic systems. So that's how the idea of Catalytica came up. And it was in the early part of '74, in a conversation with Michel, that we really thought that this would be something that we should go for. And we got Jim Cusumano involved, and the three of us slowly developed the details of starting a company. And Catalytica was started in November of '74. So really, from that point on, catalysis was our theme, and we decided at that stage that we were going to basically stake our careers and, in fact, our future. And at that time, from the standpoint, and in particular of Jim and I, anything we owned, because we didn't have too much money at that point, in setting up a business that would build eventually into a company that would produce important innovations in catalysis, commercial innovations in catalysis.